Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Mike Bledsoe, president of PCS Edventures, symbol PCSV. PCS offers one of the most robust catalogs of STEAM curriculum. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. The courseware is mainly for after-school programs, K through 12, and the Air Force JROTC, Junior Reserve Officer Training Program, has also started using their stuff. PCS operates in a large fragmented market. The company's been growing the last few years thanks to Mike and Todd's leadership, and Todd is the CEO and he's back there. I think one of the reasons that they've turned the company around is because previous management really got in the way of their employees, and Mike and Todd did the opposite, allowing the team to innovate and outservice the competition. And for the year ended March 31st, PCS did around $9 million in sales with $3 million in earnings, which is quite impressive. 30% operating margin isn't something you sneeze at, especially since it's physical courseware. They've got a large tax loss carry forward, as well as no debt and significant cash on the balance sheet. And I've gotten to know Mike over the past year, and I've really learned that this is a much higher quality business than what meets the eye. So I'd like to hand it off over to Mike.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. Ian, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to share our company story with you guys. Like Sean said, we're PCS Edventures. We're a STEM company, or STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and math. We are curriculum developers. We use some of our own proprietary technologies. Some of the things that we use, we outsource. We've been in business for a long time, 35 years, 23 employees. You know, one thing that strikes me about our company as compared to what I've been hearing this morning is that we are super small. Sean said we did $9 million in revenue. Year before that, we did $7 million. So we're running around high-fiving ourselves, and then I start hearing the numbers I'm hearing today, and I realize that we're just still in a very infant stage of our life cycle. So we have 4 different product categories that fill out our portfolio. Brick Lab is bricks. Bricks are Legos. That's exactly what they are. We make our own proprietary bricks. They're Lego compatible. We have a factory, not our factory, a vendor in South Korea that manufactures our bricks and has been doing so for 10 years. We develop a lot of curriculum, grade-specific, grades 1 through 6 with bricks. It's widely known in the industry that building bricks are highly educational. And a big thing that we do as a company, our products are meant to be very engaging with the students. We want them to, it's hands-on, we want them to collaborate, we want them to try things and fail and learn from those things. And so that's the essence of our curriculum. And Brick Lab is one of our product lines. STEAM Enrichment, these are basically summer camps or out-of-school camps that are theme-based. And it's for a group of 25 students. We have 30 different camp titles. Some of our newest titles are podcasting, rock and robots. We try and bring in some contemporary technologies into our new camp titles. We are working on one right now that's going to be an interesting one to roll out, and it's called Influencer Camp. And we're going to go over with kids all about social media and becoming influencers. Our Discover category is basically kind of a makerspace. These are products that are meant for kids to use and build things and be creative with it. And the titles are Discover Engineering, Discover Physics, Discover Robotics, those sorts of things. And then we have a 4th category called Drones. We make that a separate category because it's a big category for us, and it's a high growth category. We developed a proprietary drone. We call it the Ruby Q. This was about 7 years ago when we came out with it, and I'm not certain that I know of another educational drone that came to the market sooner than ours did. You might say that Co-Drone, made by RoboLink, was out there about the same time, but our curriculum is so robust. You know, when companies develop a robot or a drone or something of that nature, they're thinking about the retail market, and they put this product in the retail market, and then they realize later, hey, maybe we can modify this a little bit and get it into the education market. When we develop a product, we're developing it specifically for the education market. We don't have a retail presence. And so I like to tell people that our curriculum, our products are industrial strength. These are things that were developed with the very specific intention of doing what they're doing. I want to talk a little bit about what we would view as our competitive advantages. Our curriculum, I think somebody used the term magic secret sauce. That is our secret sauce. And another way to think about our company is this. We buy a piece of material, whether it be glue or scissors or paper or whatever, and then we sell that material for 2.85 times what we bought it for. And how do we do that? Well, we develop curriculum and we package this material in such a way that its value is now much greater than the sum of the pieces. And another thing that's interesting about our market, this might be foreign, I guess, to a lot of people, but our customers are basically school systems and after-school programs like the YMCA or Boys and Girls Club. And most of these entities are not price sensitive. They get grants from the government or whatever. Some of them might pay for their products out of their own funds, but oftentimes it's coming from someplace else. And part of the thing that we do that is well appreciated by our customers is that the curriculum and the products that we develop are very educator friendly. And by that, our products are developed by educators, teachers who have taught in the classroom. And they know what problems teachers run into day to day. And they make sure when they're developing these products that they're addressing those problems so the teachers won't have them. So for example, every single item that you would need to run one of our programs is included in the kit. So if you get a pencil, you're also going to get a pencil sharpener. We do not assume that they have any material whatsoever. And the feedback we get universally and all the time is that teachers appreciate this. Oftentimes they're required to pull money out of their own pocket to procure the materials that they need to conduct the lessons that they're trying to teach. And it's nice for them to know that they get a turnkey product. And then our curriculum is so well written that it doesn't require a licensed teacher to teach it. You could have a college student that is interested in kids get up and take one of our programs and conduct a class with 25 students easily. And our curriculum will walk them through the lesson plans from start to finish. So our products have to be engaging. The kids have to like it. They have to have fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun while you're learning. And in fact, it facilitates the learning. If the kids want to be there, they're going to pick up what you're telling them a lot more than if they don't want to be there. And then our long-term mentality towards our customers, I guess. Our customers' problems are our problems. And believe me, customers have problems all the time with whatever. And we want them to know we're an extension of them. We're there to help them. And so, and you could ask anyone in our firm, and they know for a fact that when a customer calls in and has an issue, they drop what they're doing and they fix that right away. And oftentimes it's at our own cost. They got a battery that failed. Well, we're going to send them a new one. And if they need it tomorrow, we're going to express mail it. And that's all going to be on our cost. And I know that eats into margins, but believe me, it really enhances the long-term relationship with customers. And what we've found is that 60% of our customers have come back and bought from us again, and sometimes again and again and again. So that's how we feel like we're a little bit differentiated from the rest of the companies in our space. These are 6 of our current strategies that we have in place right now in various degrees. Some of them are well implemented, some of them are just starting out. And I'm going to get into detail on all of these, so I'm not going to read through you all 6 of these things, but instead we'll go through them one at a time. The first thing we want to do is extend our leadership in the education drone market. As Sean mentioned, we won a competitive bid about 2 years ago with the Air Force JROTC program. They put out an RFP and we responded, and they wanted to put drones in their high schools that they're servicing. And the Air Force has 850 high schools that they service, and I think we're in 600 of them right now. There is also an Army ROTC program, and they have about 16 to 1,700 high schools, and the Navy also has a program, and they're in about 800 high schools as well. We feel like there's a great opportunity for our company. We have a great relationship with the Air Force to expand our offerings into the other branches of the military. Whether we can do that or not is yet to be seen, but we're excited about it, and that's what we're going to try and do. Another thing that is interesting to a lot of drone purchasers, because it's interesting to students, is they like to have competitions. Students want to compete. And there's not really a big competition framework around drones yet. Maybe you guys have heard about the first Lego League or the VEX Robotic League. These are massive competition frameworks. They're global. 25,000 teams compete a year and that sort of thing. What we're trying to do is to build a competition framework around our drone with the idea that every year people are going to want the competition package in order to compete in the competition, and we're going to be the vendor for that. Another thing that is specific to drones really is it's a new technology, relatively new. A lot of teachers aren't very comfortable teaching it, and our drones are very sophisticated. So our drones are built so that the students put the drone together, and there's all kinds of plans and lessons about putting this drone together from start to finish. And as they do that, they're learning what a flight controller is and what it does. They're learning about a GPS unit, how it locks into satellites to show where the position of the drone is to the drone. They're learning about all these different components, how they interact, and then at the end of their build, they go out and they fly the thing. And then the competition framework would just be one level further where they can now compete with the drone that they've built. And then professional development training, I think I might have just said this, but these drones are so new and so intimidating that we have a very robust professional development program where we go either to the site of the customer or we'll host trainings at our facility, and we'll train the teachers on how to do this program and do it successfully. And that's really been a big part of our success in the drone market. We also are trying to pursue larger customers, and we're having a fairly good deal of success with that. Our company prior to calendar year 2018 was never profitable. And in fact, I think that our highest revenue run rate for a year was $3.5 million. And this, keep in mind, we go back 35 years, so this is a long time of a company struggling to make money. We finally turned the company around, and we're profitable, and we're doing things right, and now we realize that we belong in a bigger competition arena, and we belong to talk to bigger customers. We belong there. And so we're filling out more RFPs. We're going after school districts at the district level. Instead of selling to one third grade class in one town, why not sell to all the third grade classes in that town? And that's kind of our mentality right now. So we've done a few things to try to facilitate this, but probably the biggest thing is we've taken our enrichment programs and we've created what's called a year in STEAM. And this is a full year of STEAM programming using our products, and it's organized in such a way it's theme-based, it's grade-based, and a lot of school systems are embracing this concept and saying, rather than buy one thing from you guys and one thing from them and another thing from somebody else, why don't we just buy all the things from you guys? And that's been working out very well for us, specifically in California. And California is a bit of a unique state right now in the sense that they are at the state level funding aggressively after-school programming. And I should say out of school, before school and after school programming. This is partially a reaction to the pandemic and locking down and putting kids at home, and then realizing some months and years later that these kids have slid a little bit and they're behind where they should be. And there's numerous studies that show that. So California's trying to address this problem at the state level. They're throwing billions of dollars at it. There's 9 regions in California that implement this money. And we know all of the 9 regions. We're selling into all of the 9 regions, and it's been a big winner for us. We are filling out more RFPs, requests for proposals. Sometimes these RFPs have requirements that aren't necessarily perfectly addressed by our products, and so we'll do some product development specifically for that RFP to try, and I'll give you an example. Bakersfield, California issued massive 3 or 4 different RFPs, and we responded to all of them, and these are for big money, and we did win one. We won the science one, and unfortunately, that's 2 years down the road. They had a 3-year plan, and we won the science program for year 3, basically. And we think it's going to be in the neighborhood of $1.5 million. There was some customization that went into thinking about how we're going to respond to this RFP to best match what they're wanting, and then realizing how are we going to have to modify our products to be able to do what we're saying we're going to do. And we do that well. We have a great product development team that's very good at doing that. Here's a little report card, I guess, if you will, about our pursuit of larger customers, and I just looked at 3 years. I separated it into a number of different buckets. They're cumulative, so let's look, for example, at the top line, the year ending March 31st, 2024. We had 2 customers that purchased over $1 million each from us. And then we had 3 customers that purchased over $500,000. Of course, 2 of those were the 2 in the $1 million category. So by the time you get to the very end, we have 94 customers last fiscal year that purchased more than $10,000 worth of stuff from us, up from 60 the year before and 51 the year before that. So we do feel like we're having success with that, and we feel like we're going to continue to have some success with that. Another area we're focusing on, we're kind of like the burger joint that advertises that we don't make it until you order it. And that's exactly what we used to do. We would not build a product or a product kit until somebody ordered it. Well, our business is very seasonal. In the months October through December, it's very quiet at our shop. And again, using another analogy, it's kind of like farmers. I guess they're seasonal too. So when we're not selling, we're developing products, we're maintaining the machines. So we're very busy year-round, but our revenue is very seasonal. So when we hit our busy season, and that's in the spring and summer because we sell a lot of summer programming, our warehouse gets busy. And then our fulfillment times extend out from a few days to a week to 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 5 weeks. And that doesn't work very well with a lot of people. We would love it if our customers knew exactly what they wanted to do and ordered 6 months in advance, but they don't. They figure out what they want and they need it in a few weeks. So one thing we're trying to do to accommodate that problem is we're going to start building up final products and inventorying final products instead of just the raw materials. Now that's going to require larger warehouse space and more inventory amongst other things, but we are going to reduce turnaround times. We're going to be able to accommodate large orders. Here's another example. There's Los Angeles Unified School District, and I just found this out today. They purchased 72 claymation camps from us through a reseller of ours called Edventures. And of course they want it right away, but we're gonna ship them out in a couple of days. We have them built up. It's ready to go. So what at one time would have taken us maybe 2 or 3 weeks to accommodate now takes us 2 or 3 days. And we think it's part of servicing the customer and making them happy. And then trying to smooth out the seasonality of the business that I just described. Talking about our warehouse, we're currently in a 10,000 square foot facility. It's a warehouse and an office. All of us are under one roof. It's wonderful in that regard, but we're on top of each other. And you know, I'm president of the company, and I share my office with an accountant and our purchasing person. And it's not a big office. It's 15 by 15, and there's 3 of us in there. So we're on top of each other. And we need more space, and we need a bigger facility to accommodate what we think is going to be a pretty good run of growth over the next several years. We're negotiating on several different things right now We haven't signed anything, but our lease is due in October, at the end of October of this year, and so the pressure's on. We're going to find something. We're going to get moved in. Another thing we're working on, it used to be that our salespeople would have discussions with every single customer that purchased anything from us. And the reason they did that is they wanted the opportunity to upsell in case this customer was going to purchase a brick lab, but they really had the need for much more than that. So instead of a $1,000 purchase, maybe we could turn that into a $10,000 purchase. We still do that, but we are getting so much leads and so many people in to talk to that we don't have enough people to do that now. So we have to find a way to automate the front end. When a customer comes in, we have to be able to assess, are you ready to buy now, or is this something you're going to want to do later? Do you know what you want, or do you need some help thinking about it? And so this automation process is trying to basically allow us to have the conversations with the bigger customers, which is one of our priorities, while not ignoring our smaller customers. We still want to make it easy to purchase from us. And we spend a lot of time on our online sales platform and all different kinds of ways of communicating with customers in other ways besides having a 30 or 60-minute conversation with them. We're looking for areas of expansion. Professional development, at one time we thought that there might be a market in there for us to travel around maybe in more of a consulting role for a fee and educate teachers and administrators on teaching STEM, on how you do it, what best practices and that sort of thing. What we found is there's a lot of service providers out there that do that. And really, the biggest area of expansion in terms of partnering would be with these service providers that put on programming, but they don't make the products that they're using. And there's several examples of this, but let me share a few. One of our customers is called Catapult, Missouri. They put on summer school in the state of Missouri, and it's free of charge. Missouri is the only state in the nation that will give public students free summer school. Busing, cafeteria, everything, free. Now, of course, the parents in Missouri are thrilled with this. But Catapult does a good job, and they have a session. It's a 5-day-a-week program. In the morning, they teach reading and math, and then in the afternoon is enrichment, and that's our stuff. And Catapult uses our stuff. And we get great feedback. The kids love it. In fact, we sent our head of product development and another assistant back to Missouri this summer to witness some of the lessons being taught with our products. And they came back with a lot of information on how we could do better and where some of the hang-ups are and that sort of thing. And I want to digress a second. We never used to do this before, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's cast in stone that we do it every time. When we develop a product, we will go test it someplace, typically around Boise, but it doesn't have to be. And we want to know what are the problems the teachers or the students are having with this product, and we want to refine that, get the bugs out, so to speak, before we commercialize it and release it. And this has really helped us kind of bump up the quality of our programming. We're always looking for partnerships. They can come in many forms, and we're talking to a lot, whether it's like you could consider the Air Force as a partner. We've been back to Montgomery, Alabama, which is the headquarters of the Air Force JROTC program. We've been back there twice now, once running a competition and once teaching their instructors on how to conduct our Discover Drones program that they've been buying from us. And I would categorize our relationship with them as excellent. So I really do see some opportunity with them. And there will be other partnerships along the line too. That's kind of our story. I want to get into just some select financial data. So the blue line on this graph is revenue. The yellow line is earnings before the tax benefit. We'll talk about that in a second. But I don't want to. In the last 2 years, we had a tax loss carry forward that we valued at zero because it wasn't clear that we were ever going to be able to take advantage of that asset because we weren't making money. Well, all of a sudden, we started to make so much money. Not so much. We're the smallest company in here, but all of a sudden we started to make so much money that our auditor said, hey, we need to remove that valuation allowance. And I agree with that, we did. And we did it in pieces. We removed some of it last year and then the year before and then some of it last year. So we have this big asset now that basically when we removed the valuation allowance, it added that amount to income and it added that amount to our book value. So if I were to show our income last year, it would be closer to $4.5 million and not the $3 million that we're showing here. These are current assets by fiscal year, and then we have the different, I just pulled up 4 different ones. Prepaid inventory, accounts receivable, and cash. And you could kind of see the last few years, especially the last year, kind of the growth that we experienced. A lot of that came from our Air Force relationship, but I can tell you that outside of that, our underlying business is growing rather substantially, and we expect that to continue. So a lot of our cash, if you think about we're just a company that buys stuff and sells it for 2.85 times what we bought it for. Well, then we got to have some inventory. And so a lot of our money has been going into inventory. The inflation concept has been discussed here. We experience it too. And so what we like to do now is if scissors go on sale, usually let's say we pay 60 cents a pair, and let's say we can get them for 45 cents a pair. We want to buy a pallet of them. We want to buy 10,000 pairs of scissors, and I'll keep it in inventory for a year or 6 months or however long it's going to last. It used to be, a long time ago, when we got an order, not only did we put the order together after we got it, we ordered the materials for that order after we got the order. So we've come a long way, and we've got a long ways to go. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. This is shareholder equity by fiscal year again, and these numbers do include the tax loss valuation removal. So that's why it went up quite a bit, as much as it did the last couple of years. But even taking that out, we have a very positive book value, and it's very satisfying because, when I started, it's basically the fourth lowest bar there, 2018, and I mean, things were in dire shape then. So if you want to think about us a different way, we were a turnaround story, and we've turned it around, and now we're a growth story. But we're so early, we're so small. And so we've got all these problems that all these people have talked about that they've overcome today. They're still ahead of us because we're so small. But I'll tell you something. We've got a great group of people that work for us. We're very tight. We have a team mentality approach. No one person wins the game or loses the game for you. You win and lose as a team, and that's our mentality. We care about each other. We're like family to each other. And so that creates a work environment that people are excited to come into every morning, and they're just more productive. And we've experienced that in spades, and we're going to continue to do that. Stock and financial data here, and I maybe you can read the numbers, maybe you can't, but just looking down over the fiscal year of 2024, our fiscal year ends March 31st, so we're already in fiscal year 2025 now. $9.1 million in revenue, operating income $2.8, net income $4.4, but that's including that valuation removal that added assets and income to us. We have 124 million shares outstanding, 124 or 5. At the end of March, we had 1.3 million in cash. We're quite a bit ahead of that now. Today, we're probably at 3 million in cash. We have no debt. I'm very proud of that. When I first joined the company, we had a bunch of debt, $2.5 million, which somebody said, oh, we only have $9 million in debt, and we're going to pay that off. But $2.5 million to us, that was it was killing us. And so we recognized we had to remove that. And, now we make $120,000 in interest income, whereas before we were paying well over that in interest. So we've really kind of flipped the scale there, and I'm proud of that. You can see our PE ratio, our insider ownership of 46.7%. Our chairman and chief executive officer, Todd Hackett. Todd, would you raise your hand, please, back there? He owns about 44% of the stock. And so a question was asked earlier, are you worried about being taken out and all that? And we're not, because we're in the same position that the one group was, where if you own 60 or 70% of your stock, you're never going to be taken out and at a surprise. And Todd has a long-term mentality. He said it time and again. I believe him. And so, if somebody puts an offer on the table and it's just too good to refuse, we'll take it. But that's not our plan. Our plan is to grow this thing. That's the end of that. Todd, I'd like to, if you'd like to come up and say a few words, please do. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. Thank you, everyone. We'll have some questions after Todd has an opportunity to say a few things.
Well, basically, everything Mike explained to you is pretty much accurate on everything. The company was in dire straits before Mike came into the picture, and it took several years to get it turned around. I think the number was more like $2.8 million in debt, of which $2.4 million of it was mine, and I had another $2.2 million in stock. So I was the main funder turning the company around because everybody else walked away. And then when Mike came in, he brought in a little more capital from some relation. And it's been unfortunately, we were on the good road to turn around faster, but then COVID hit, and schools shut down during COVID, and that put us in a little bit of a hold pattern for next. We could have been where we are now a little faster, is what I'm trying to say. We're still very early stage. We have, like Mike said, about $3 million in cash. We have zero debt, no preferred, no stock options. Everything we do is for the shareholders' interest, because I'm the largest one, and I draw no salary, never have as CEO. We treat everything as though it's my money, because 45% of it is. And that's just the way it is. So we look at everything, and the goal is to grow, and as we grow, hopefully I'm going to throw some forward-looking numbers out. If we can get to a $15 million number, I know Mike said we brought $2.9 million down to the bottom line now. If we can get to $15 million, assuming we hold our same margins, before taxes, we can bring down $6 million. That's a lot of money on a margin-wise. I mean, right now, if you look at what we brought down this year, it was 32% of our sales. Last year, the difference between going from $7 million to $9 million, our margin went from 27% to 32%. That margin is going to increase again, going to 15%, as long as we can hold our margins. What's going to depend on that is if we're using resellers or it's organic growth from ourselves. And that's just the first point. Then to accelerate going forward, when Mike says we want to continue to grow, that's true. And I have told him many times, my goal of selling the stock or anything, I have no intention of selling stock, never had. My goal is to, as long as the company grows and can continue to perform, I want to grow it as big as I can, and then eventually my kids will get it. That's just the way I've planned it. Anyway, so that's kind of our strategy, and we've been very, very careful on how we spend the money, and because back when the whole thing, when I got involved in it in the early I was involved in 2007, but going through 2012, and that is when I was the one putting all the money in because everybody else walked away. And investors, I mean, I don't blame them. The company was in dire strait. They were hemorrhaging money every year. Since then, now we started making a lot of money, and we've paid back $2.8 million in debt. In most companies, because I've involved in a lot of microcap companies, not a lot, but several. Anyway, most of them, they do it two ways. It's either equity raise or they put lipstick on a pig and they call it preferred stock. That's just the truth of it. That way it doesn't show up on the balance sheet as debt. So we didn't do any of that. We talked about it, and because that's what everybody else did, and that was my idea, and we didn't go that route. We decided to do it the hard way, earn the money and pay it back. And that's what we did. And the company paid back me every bit of my money and every other investor that they owed. And as we keep accumulating money, we will be doing one of two things. If the stock's low, we will buy back stock. Eventually, as we keep accumulating money, we will start doing acquisitions. So, I mean, we're going to grow the company. It's just a matter, I can't tell you exactly how. But we got to the point now where we no longer are losing money, we're making money. And that's a big change. Because now, like Mike said, we had 200 and some thousand. My loan to the company was at 10% interest. So do the math. I mean, they were paying over $200,000 a year in interest. Now we earned a little over 100,000 last year, and that will continue hopefully to grow. So it's totally flip-flop. And that's really pretty much everything, I think.
So the drone part of the business is one of the large drivers currently. You're currently prototyping a new drone version. Can you talk a little bit more about what is necessary and what would be approximate timeline for deliverable?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. I meant to discuss that and I forgot. We are in the late stages of developing our next proprietary drone. And what we did is we had several focus groups of customers and non-customers alike, and we asked them, what do you want in your drone program? What's important to you? And we took their feedback and we incorporated that into our new drone. So let me explain a couple of differences between our current drone and our new prototype. Our current drone is basically an outdoor drone. It connects with a satellite via the GPS unit, and that gives it its stabilization so the drone knows where it's at all times. If you were to take it into this room, the GPS can't lock, and so the drone is not very stable, and it's very dependent upon the skill of the pilot to fly the drone, which doesn't go over well in a school setting because these pilots aren't very adept yet. So one of the things that people wanted, one of the big things, is they wanted stable indoor flight. And so our new drone now has this linear flow technology or whatever. It basically looks at the floor and it can measure where it's at, how far it's gone, sense where the walls are, that sort of thing. So you could bring the new drone in here and hover it right above somebody's head for as long as you wanted, and the thing's not going to move. Whereas our old drone, you would have to have the pilot controlling it the whole time. So that's a big differentiator between our new prototype and our current drone. The new one is going to be a little bit more modular, so we're going to go after 3 different markets, and each market is going to have its own unique characteristics of the drone or the package of the drone. Some drones are going to be more camera-based. Some drones are going to be more pilot-based. Some drones are going to be more engineering-based. And each one of these packages will have various models that you could buy that range from bare bones to the top of the line. One of the things the new drone is going to have on it is a camera that can be controlled with a gimbal. So, you know, we're trying to simulate how you would use a drone in industry. And, you know, one of the ways is inspection. You want to go inspect the bridge or the building or whatever. And so we want to have a drone that the kids can fly out and look at something and move the camera around, zoom in and out, whatever they need to do to inspect what it is they're trying to inspect. So that's also part of our new drone. We think we're going to have a prototype developed at the end of this month. This is August 1st. At the end of August, we think we're going to have our prototype developed. We're going to have to test it. That'll take several months, figure out what works, what doesn't, and refine it. And then the education group's going to take it over and start writing curriculum around it. I suspect that maybe, I hate to say this, it may be a year away before we have a commercial version of the new drone. But we want to make sure that this thing is as perfect as we can make it, because it's really our flagship product right now. We feel like a market leader in the education drone space. I think we are. So thank you, Sean for asking that.
Sean, let's take one question from the audience.
Anybody else?
Todd, you can.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm just very curious on the turnaround, because the turnaround was very, very remarkable and very fast. And it was a long time, decades of very flat and,
Yes.
and struggling time. So I would like if you can expand on that. So what exactly did you change? What happened? So make us see, because let's say for an investor like us, how do we know? So which kind of factors happened before that we could also identify? So I want to explore your brain, how you what you saw and what you changed. Thanks a lot.
Yep, I appreciate that question, and there's I'll get into some specifics, but basically it was like a person that is out of shape, and they start going to the gym, and you don't see results immediately, and you really don't see them very quickly. But eventually, if you keep doing it, you see them. And so what we did is we just started to do things better. We started to be more cost conscious. We got rid of a few people and added a few people that needed to be done. And then we went about our marketing a different way. We went about our sales a different way. And we were very efficient about what we did. And then we stayed away from these long shots that we used to take as a company. Gosh, if we could just do this thing, look how big the payoff is. Well, if you don't do that thing, you lose a lot of money. And so we got very risk averse about what projects we wanted to take on, what endeavors we wanted to try. And even today, I could tell you that we have far more opportunities than we can address. We have 23 people. I mean, we have to prioritize what we can do, and then we go after that, and we recognize we're leaving some things on the table that we would prefer to do, but we just don't have enough time. But I can tell you, I mean, there was a time when I didn't cash, 6 months worth of checks. We didn't have the cash flow. And so we struggled, and I wish I knew. We were so close to just not making it, but somehow we just didn't let it die. And then things started to fall into place for us. And this is like a godsend. So the pandemic hit in March of 2020, and our Catapult customer in January of 2020 gave us an order for like $1.9 million, the largest order we had ever received. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and we could see that, gosh, this may impact their programming, their ability to put on their summer programming. So we hustled day and night to get this order out so we could bill them for it so they could say no givebacks. And we did that. They ended up not being able to put on their programming that summer. They inventoried all of our product. And then the next year, they hardly ordered anything because they had a full inventory of everything. But that money we got from Catapult lasted us through that downtime for the pandemic. And it was fortuitous. I mean, there was a lot of luck that went into it. It wasn't all skill. But I don't know that I could point to any specific thing and say, we did that, and that's what made the difference, because it was a whole bunch of little things that we did that made a difference in aggregate in a huge way. Todd, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, just basically one of the main things we did was we were able to get the products to the customer. With the old management, they were very slow on shipping. Part of that was due to funding. Part of that was due to the fact they weren't as organized. So that time frame went down considerably over the last few years. And now we ship, like Mike said, in a few days. They were taking 3 weeks to do the same thing we're doing in 3 days. It's just, I guess I would just say that they didn't have the right people in place.
I want to add one thing too. Part of what caused us a lot of problem was the fact that the prior management was focused on what they perceived was a huge opportunity in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And they were told that they were going to basically do these things, and eventually the whole country was going to buy our stuff. And so they pursued that, but they ignored the U.S. market in doing so. And the first thing I did when I got there was try to get rid of that relationship. It was going nowhere. It was making no money. It was frustrating. And of course, I had to fight with the legacy management that was there that put it in the first place. Eventually, we severed ties. And once that happened, and once we started to focus on our U.S. market, which is where we belong, things started to improve. So that might have been the one thing that I could point to that was a big deal, is shifting our focus to where it should have been. But there was a lot of small things that went into that as well.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.